I really didn't think I was going to find myself making a video about Brock Bowers' stock falling a little bit. That's what happens here in the off season, in draft season. You can look at it even when things weren't going on. In terms of the NFL draft, people were still changing their prospect rankings and flipping things around. And now what's coming out of the NFL Combine is that Bowers' stock's taking a little bit of hit. Maybe not anything significant, but he's not interviewing well, apparently. At least those are what the reports are saying. And look, as someone who has interviewed him in group settings on several occasions over the last few years, I can talk about that a little bit. Look, Bowers isn't a great interview. What's a great interview, right? It's someone that answers the questions you're asking. It's someone that gives you fruitful responses. Someone who doesn't deviate from what you're really asking as well. And when they're being fruitful about it, they're giving you more than just one sentence, or they're giving you more than just a yes or no answer. So those are a couple of things. And just being super personable and being kind of a bubbly personality can really help you interview well. And look, Bowers just really isn't that. And I don't care. There's plenty of Georgia players who I'd prefer not to interview for the purpose of what we do. The interviews at the NFL Combine are different. They're a little bit closer to job interviews and getting to know you type of interviews where they can ask weird questions, right? You've seen stories over and over again from prospects who just get asked really, really strange questions by these teams, and I think it throws them off. And I can imagine that maybe threw Brock off if that's something that's been happening in these in these meetings. But look, Brock Bowers is one of the best players in this draft. I think it's a weaker draft in hindsight. Me looking at it, I don't love a lot of the defensive players in it. Just that's me personally. I think it's loaded at wide receiver. I think it has potential to end up being a really deep quarterback class, and it is deep in the amount that are going to go in the first couple rounds, but will it be deep in success? I think it has a chance to be. I don't know that it will be. And Bowers is among those guys. He's among one of the best prospects. Real quick, I'm going to be really, really quick. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here, talking about Brock Bowers in the NFL draft. We talk about that and everything else at dogpost.com, and make sure you're checking out our newsletter if you don't want to miss out on anything that we're pushing out to you guys. It goes to your inbox every single day if you're signed up for the Dawg Post newsletter. With Bowers, I was listening to Joel Klatt the other day. He was ranking his top 5 pass catchers in this NFL draft, and he said pass catchers because he has Brock Bowers in his top 5, and he actually has Brock Bowers as his number 2. I would rank them the same way. I don't know that I agreed with the rest of Joel Klatt's rankings, but I agreed with his 1 and 2 in it being Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers. Another thing that Joel Klatt said that, well, one, this is just a fact. At this point, it's a fact. It's not just speculation. But he said that Brock Bowers is the type of player that helps you win championships. This is the type of guy that you win championships with. Georgia won 2 championships. Now, Georgia was really good. It wasn't all about Brock Bowers. But who was the number 1 weapon on their offense in 2021? It was freshman tight end Brock Bowers, who was the one that kind of had who's the one that they schemed a touchdown to give Georgia an 8-point lead over Alabama? Freshman Brock Bowers. Who's the guy that, almost single-handedly saved them against Auburn? It was Brock Bowers, right? This is a guy that was more than just a tight end. He was an elite offensive weapon. He's just as good with the ball in his hands as a lot of these receivers are, and he can catch just as good as them. He's just a guy that lines up at tight end sometimes, that blocks sometimes. Klatt went on to make other points about championships. And you look at the NFL, and this is what this is translating to, and you look at college as well. Look, good quarterbacks that have good tight ends, it works, right? Patrick Mahomes is different. But Travis Kelce is too, and he's a big part of why the Kansas City Chiefs have been successful. Who's the best weapon that Tom Brady ever had? It wasn't Randy Moss. It wasn't Julian Edelman. It wasn't Deion Branch. It was Rob Gronkowski, and they won multiple championships together. Zach Ertz was like an all-pro tight end when the Eagles won, and they had Dallas Goedert as well. guys that can play that position and can really just be elite at it, it helps out offenses for sure, because it's hard for players to guard big bodies in the middle of the field like that. And Bowers is not only that, he's actually a little bit on the smaller side, in my opinion, for the average tight end, but he has elite speed for that position. He has elite hands. He's got I've never seen, there's not a lot of players that just refuse to be tackled the way that Brock Bowers refuses to be tackled. You could tell when he was injured. I talked a little bit about the SEC championship and the injury to Bowers and how that affected it because of what Amarius Smith said. You could see how different Brock Bowers was when he was injured. Go watch Brock Bowers post-injury, his junior year this past season, 2023. Watch him against Ole Miss, watch him against Tennessee, watch him against Alabama. Not the same player, right? That's what a normal tight end plays like. What Brock Bowers does is extend the play, drag defenders, break tackles, sidestep tackles. He does it better than any tight end that I've ever seen. I mean, really. I don't know that I've seen a tight end more athletic than him. I'm not saying he's the best tight end I've ever seen. I think at this point in time it's Rob Gronkowski. And if we're talking about it in terms of the NFL, Brock Bowers has a long way to go to reaching a point like that. But the fact that he'd be slipping in this draft due to those interviews, I understand. I understand it if you're looking for a certain type of guy in your locker room, and Brock Bowers, it just didn't feel like maybe let's say it was the Chargers at 5 or the Giants at 6, or I don't think it'd be the Giants. A team that'd be more likely to take him would be like the Jets at 10, the Chargers at 5. Those are teams I think that might be eyeing him. Let's say that the Jets and the Chargers, they interviewed Brock Bowers. They just didn't really like the meeting and they didn't vibe out with him. Right? He wasn't, maybe this guy's not Jet material. This guy is not Charger material. I don't know what would not make him that, because I think he would instantly make your football team better. But I understand if it's a personality thing and they want someone that's a little more rah-rah. They want someone that's, Brock Bowers is a laid-back person in terms of just socially. He's a quiet person. Ask Kirby Smart. There were a lot of those types of guys on the Georgia football team. Dajan Edwards is a good example, but Kirby would just basically tell us, he told us at SEC Media Days. I can't believe I was blanking on this. Brock Bowers was one of the Georgia representatives at SEC Media Days in the summer of 2023. Him, Cedric Van Pran, and I believe Kamari Lassiter. And basically, Kirby told us, right? And to the Georgia media, it was no secret, but maybe he was speaking out to the rest of the SEC media. But to the Georgia media, it was no secret that Brock Bowers just doesn't really have that much to say. And even Kirby Smart and the coaching staff sometimes would have trouble getting him to just talk. So if that's an issue with NFL teams, then maybe I understand it a little bit. But in terms of his stock just falling, to me, like, you see the frustration on my face just because I think this draft thing has been getting silly this offseason. To me, if you're watching just straight up tape and include highlights in that tape, there's 5 or 6 guys in this draft that are just absolute freak shows. And it's the 3 quarterbacks, and it's a few of the wide receivers, and I'm including and Brock Bowers. There's just absolute freak show type tapes when you talk about Caleb Williams, when you talk about Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers. Between the collective group of 7 players, the tape is insane. And Brock's is just as impressive as any of them. If you need a weapon on the outside and the inside, and it's not Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know if you can go better than Brock Bowers in this draft. I really don't. So the fact that he'd be slipping based off those interviews, to me, it's a little bit dumb. Thanks for watching.